Max, could you do me a favor and put
Sure.
the New York, the Vote NYC information in the chat for ranked choice voting?
Sure. Where is that? Do you know what the link is to that?
So it's vote.nyc.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you want me to put it in the chat now, or?
So actually, when we get to that, it's number 3 on our discussion. That would be great.
Sounds good.
So I'm just going to wait a minute or two. I had a couple other people who were supposed to join us tonight.
Sure.
So hopefully everybody will be a little bit patient and they'll jump on.
Sounds good.
Okay, Max, I think I'm going to get started. So why don't you go ahead and do my favorite spiel?
Sounds good. All right. Welcome, everyone. If this is your first time joining us, everyone will remain muted throughout tonight's presentation, except Committee Chair Lynn and any presenters. Following the presentation, Lynn will call on members of the public that wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon and pressing raise hand and not the wave or thumbs up feature. Only press it once, because if you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling from the phone, it's *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Be on the lookout for a prompt at that time asking to confirm unmuting once Lynn calls on you. The chat is for technical support only, to help with Zoom software problems and not to ask questions of Lynn or presenters. They will not see the chats. If you have an older version of Zoom, you'll need to go to the participants section towards the bottom of your screen, and you'll find the raise hand feature there. And finally, please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen, because we may not be able to see you. And now I will hand it to Lynn.
So what I'd like to do is make one modification on our agenda, and that is to add in old business what I'm going to call a Starbucks entrance to our Roosevelt Island subway station. So do I have a motion to amend the agenda? Thank you, Judy. Do I have a second? Second, thank you. So we'll make that a adjustment to our agenda. And so our first agenda item is our report from the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation's capital projects. And John is joining us. Thank you, John. Max, if you could unmute John, it'd be appreciated.
I'm unmuted. Can I share my screen?
Can he share a screen?
Sure, 1 second, and I'll let you know. Okay, you should be good.
All right. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take you through some of the active projects first, and then we're going to go through some of the future projects and some of the things that we're thinking about, future capital improvements. And that's my dog, if you hear him bark. So the construction projects currently, you have South Point Park riprap, you have the Sportspark renovation that just started, the tram elevator over on the Manhattan side, dark fiber, Motorgate Garage Repairs, McManus Field Comfort Station, Lighthouse Tower, and Nellie Bly. So here's a picture of South Point Park. We're really moving along on this project pretty well. You can see on the left-hand photo, that's actually the walkway. They poured the cement a week and a half ago, and it's cured. The riprap is all done. We're out of the water. We're only doing inland work. That's the eastern shore on the left-hand side of the page. We're starting the landscaping next week. We're looking for that side, the eastern side. We're hopeful to have that completed sometime late July, early August, and that side's going to open. On the right side of your photo, you have the western shore. What you're looking at there is some rebar that actually is the platform that goes and overlooks Manhattan. Riprap is all done. Again, we're out of the water. We're not dealing with the moratorium. This is a couple of days old. They've actually poured the cement. They poured the second phase slabs today. That section probably is a late, early to mid-fall completion date. But we're actually early on the project. We're in budget, and we look like we're going to be in pretty good shape for the rest of the year. I mean, this has really come a long way. We had a couple issues relative to finding things that were on the ground that we weren't expecting, but the contractor did a great job on this project. We're really pleased with it. The next project is Sportspark Renovation. You have a couple of conceptual designs on this. We started the work about 3 weeks ago. The demolition of the main lobby was completed effective today. And we're going to start the interior work on that within the next week and a half to 2 weeks from now. We've got to order some materials and so forth. But the inside, which is the main lobby, if on the western shore, the main entrance that you walk into, we're looking to have that completed by early September. Then we're going to move into the gym. The gym floor is going to be done. We're going to do some electrical work, some window work, some work on the backboards and the rims, and then move into the multi-purpose room. That work should be done by the end of the year, and then we move into the pool. We will do the HVAC, the filtration system, and we'll do all the work that's necessary in the pool and the locker rooms. But this project is moving along pretty well. It's still early in the process, but included in the first phase, which will be done by the end of hopefully by the end of September, will be this new facade look that you see here on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is what the main lobby will look like once we have it completed, which is a really much improved, much lighter, much airier concept than what we currently have. Next one is the elevator construction over Manhattan side. This is a current picture. You can see that we're actually putting up the glass facade on the elevator. The timing of this was delayed for a couple of different reasons: unforeseen site conditions with the soil issues. Then the glass got delayed as a result of the pandemic. We couldn't get it. It was manufacturing a supplier from Europe and Italy. So we got delayed because of the pandemic issues, but we got the glass. The glass is going up on the eastern side elevator. We're hoping to get that elevator completed by September, early October. Once that elevator is up and running, at that time frame, we're going to demolish the old elevator. Once the demolition is done on the old elevator, we'll start working on the glass on the western side elevator. There's 2 elevators in the construction, and we're hoping to have both the western elevator done by the end of the year. So by the end of the year, both elevators will be working, but the eastern elevator will be working sometime late September, probably October. Dark fiber connectivity. We're running some dark fiber down the eastern promenade to support the REAC facilities. We're moving out of 591 because our lease has expired. So there's an issue with how the connectivity runs from PSD into 591 and then into 680. So this dark fiber is going to run all the way down the east promenade, connect all the REAC facilities, and then jump into connectivity to Sports Park and to the tram. So it will be a direct connection to internet connection to all our facilities, which will allow us to function a little bit better on the island. So you see that work happening on the east promenade currently. that should be done. That work should be done within the next 2 weeks. Motorgate Garage, we're almost done. We finished the stairwell. We're finishing the last stairwell as we speak, but the project really came out well. The contractor did a great job. It came in early, came in under budget. We've done a lot more work than spalling, which is a concrete issue. So it's like peeling paint. Is always a big issue because you start with a 5-foot square area and wind up with a 20-foot square area. We knew that. We had contingency on it, so they did a great job. So the waterproofing and the project looks really good. We did a lot. We did work in the lobbies to clean them up. We did the facade work to make sure the facade was looking good and strong. And we did a lot of the beam work inside the building to shore up the beams on a facility that was built years and years ago and needed some significant work. We have 6 electrical charging stations on the 4th floor that have been being used, and the project really came out really well. The next thing we're going to do is we're looking at some doors to replace some doors to finish it off. McManus Field Comfort Station, that's going to open within the next 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, this is a current look at the project here on the left-hand side. And this is another look at it from the southern part of the field. The spectator section is pretty much complete. They're doing some final touches on the landscaping. We're probably going to open the spectator section within the next week or so, once the landscaping and the sod is laid. But the comfort station came out really nice, and that shed that you see over the comfort station has a green roof on it. And if you walk over and look at, and you walk past towards the DEP side and you look back, you can see how nice that works. But we added some storage space in there. We kind of matched the paving to the paving that's in the DEP area. You can see the red red cement wall that we did over here. It came out really good. But this project really is going to look good. We're looking forward to opening it up. It came out really well. Just to note that if we would have done this steel structure today, with the increase in steel that we've seen in the construction industry, we would have paid 3 times the amount that we paid for it when we had the bid go out. So we got a little break on that one. Lighthouse Tower renovation. We had the kickoff meeting on Tuesday. The contractor is starting to mobilize. He's looking to get his permit. He'll probably be on island within the next week and a half. Just to point out on the left-hand side of the picture, if you see my cursor, you can see the dome on the top was a dome that was put in. I think it was, Judy probably knows this better than I do. I think it was in 1940s. They replaced the dome and they put this little short dome on. This is the original lighthouse, and you can see the dome is more of a peak than it is a flat surface. We're going back to this dome here. I think it's going to really make a big difference. But the primary object of the project is to do the facade work, repair the steps inside, repair the seal, the railings, and then do some work around the base of the project to shore that up a little bit and deal with some of the ADA tripping issues that we may have in that area. So this project, it's not going to be a long project. We're hoping to have it done by the end of August. It kind of rolls into Nellie Bly, which I'll go to next, because the scope of the project basically is also relative to the foundation of the Nellie Bly project. So that will be part of this project. So when they leave, the base of Nellie Bly will be completed. She's pretty far along. These are some of the actual photos of the faces that they've actually completed so far. We're hoping that we're on target to have the whole project done by the end of September, and there's a date in October that's dedicated to women that we're hoping to be done in time so we can have a dedication on the day of that date. So this project is going to move pretty quick, so we're really excited about it. some of the completed projects that we've completed over the last several months. Hope Memorial is completed. There's an event that they're trying to schedule in July so we can have an unveiling of it. But inside that green box that you see over here is the completed project. All the paving and everything has been done. Benches are in place. Lighting is completed. And we're excited about opening that project up. I think it's going to be a really nice place for people to visit. So that was done, and it was done and got delayed a little bit by pandemic, but we were able to get through it. Blackwell House, here's the interior of the Blackwell House. That came out really well. We're doing some work on the ADA ramp. We're going to have to do some work on the ADA ramp, but this project came out really nice. And there have been visitors there, and people have been visiting the space. The youth center had the opening a couple of weeks ago. It's really a nice. It's a very nice facility. I mean, I have to say the contractor on this project is the same contractor that's doing Sportspark, and they really do a fantastic job. If you have a chance to visit it, please do. I mean, it really came out well. AVAC upgrades. We upgraded a bunch of things, a bunch of mechanical issues, mechanical things in the AVAC upgrades, and we'll still continue to move and try to upgrade some of the internet and online systems so we can monitor it better. And some of the things that we have on tap. We have Blackwell Plaza. We're going to redo all the pavers around Blackwell Plaza. We're going to get the fountain working, and we're going to move into the library space and that little courtyard area in the library space and try to straighten that up and clean that up a little bit to make it a little bit useful. I mean, there's some issues with the cobblestone wall in there that are a health and safety issue. That wall is being supported by railroad ties that have deteriorated, and so we're trying to figure out exactly what to do with the wall and how we can manage that. But it'll be a nice area for the library and for people to sit around and have that little garden that sits in this area to really work. But we're looking to move that, all the pavers all the way down onto the road will be replaced, and we'll eliminate all the tripping hazards that are currently there. We have an RFP that's ready to go out for the Lighthouse Park expansion. Here's the park over here. Here's Kohler Hospital. This whole area right now is basically a garage and just a laydown area or storage area. We're looking to not do a lot of grading, but to make the park more of a green open space area. You can see the picture here. This is a conceptual drawing. It's not a significant amount of effort, but it will open up an enormous amount of space in this area that could be used for just a green space area. We've been in coordination with Kohler Hospital. They're aware of our project. We've managed to make sure that we give them access to their receiving dock and their storage facilities. So this is something that we're thinking about doing. It may get done in phases. We may do it all in phases, so it may not happen all at once. But we're trying to get the RFP out probably by the middle of June, end of June, so we'll have some numbers on what it's going to cost somewhere in the July timeframe. But I'm excited about this project because it really expands the park significantly. I mean, it's amazing when you really look at it that you can use this entire space, and really combination of this improvement, the Lighthouse, Nellie Bly really brings this park into a major aspect, and maybe gets the footprints coming from the south up to the north of the island. A dollar sculpture is something that happened prior to me being on board, but he's actually ready to go. And we've been having conversations with him. The sculpture's done. Pretty big. It's going to go on the western side of the island. People excited about it, so we'll see how it goes. But that's probably going to happen sometime in the fall. He's got, it's not money coming out of REAC's budget, not coming out of capital funding. He's got the whole thing funded himself. It's gonna. It looks like it's gonna happen. Shockingly, to be honest with you. And that's it. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I'm going to start with a couple of quick ones, hopefully, John, and not too hard. Now, I know that you're doing all that doing work with Lighthouse Park, with the Nellie Bly sculpture. Will you be running any dark fiber down to that end of the island? I know that there was some kind of technology component with Nellie Bly. Is that part of that? Is that in that plan? And is that going to happen before you start working on that green area park?
We do have plans to move the dark fiber down to the north side of the island. It's not going to be as significant an issue as it is going from 680 to down to the southern part, because the wire buildings, when they built the wire buildings, it seems like they took all whatever debris they had and they just stuck it in the ground. So we're having some issues as far as moving the fiber through the ground on going up north. It's a lot of grass area, so it'll be easier. That's phase 2 of the dark fiber project. We do have Verizon wireless Wi-Fi that now is connected into the comfort station over there, which we're not going to do much with the comfort station except for painting it and putting the shed over it. That's going to make it look pretty. But we do currently have Wi-Fi over there, and we're actually working with Kohler because they have some dark spots, dark areas inside the hospital where they can't get Wi-Fi. So we're working. I talked to Pistone. He wanted to get his IT group with our IT group to kind of figure out how we can improve their Wi-Fi connection and use the Wi-Fi connection we have at the comfort station to do that. But yeah, the phase 2 of the dark fiber project is to move it up north and to actually get the whole park hot so people can go up there, sit and use the Wi-Fi and relax.
Now, you've probably answered this before, but I've forgotten, so I'm just going to ask again. In the Lighthouse project, there's that plaque to that woman whose vision of Roosevelt Island is what was created here. Is that going to be replaced, or what are you going to do with that plaque?
So it's a tripping hazard. So what we decided to do is to put a pedestal in the same spot and then just lift it and replace it on top of this pedestal right next to the door.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's going to be in the same place. It's just going to be flat on the ground.
Okay. And I hold on one second. I just wanted to tell everyone I've had a chance to see the youth center renovations, and I really think that you guys have done an amazing job. And it's looking like you're moving in that direction for Sportspark. If Sportspark turns out half as nice as a youth center as, we're going to be in for some spectacular places to go on Roosevelt Island. The other thing I wanted to ask really quickly about Blackwell Park, I know that you're going to be working on the pavers there. Will the sprinklers, like as it gets a little warmer, are they going to be working before or like as you're transitioning, or are you just going to not let how are you going to work that space as you're doing that transition? The
sprinkler park?
Yeah.
So part of that, I don't know the exact answer to that question, Lynn. Part of the scope of the project is to replace to put an RPZ in for the park, so we could turn the water fountains on in that park. I don't know where in the schedule that actually fits, but we'll probably have the sprinklers on. The paver job is not a long duration. I'd have to go back and look. We had the sprinklers on last year, so I don't think it's going to be an issue to put them on this year. It may be down for a week or so at some point, but I can get back to you with more definitive answer on that question. I just don't know where in the schedule that actually sits.
Yeah, I just came up. I got an email from one of the family groups, and so I just wanted to touch base with you to get an idea. Do we have any other questions?
I see Judy.
Okay, Judy, if you could unmute Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
Okay, I have a few questions. First of all, has the Treasury Department approved this design of the dollar bill?
And I don't know.
What is this thing, 30 feet tall?
Yeah, it's pretty tall.
Okay, where's it going?
Judy, no, the original concept on this was to go on the western side of the island, right outside of the octagon field.
Okay.
That the issue that we raised to the sculptor or his group is wind.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is that the right place for it? And we don't have that answer yet. And until I get and also the study of the analysis of the ground and the foundation.
Yeah.
Because it's so big, they also haven't given us that information yet. So there's a couple of questions on exactly how it's going to be done. We're not going to let it go unless we get all that analysis and we get comfortable with it. So I wouldn't, there's some question marks related to it as far as also the funding, this extra work that they have to go through to actually make sure that they do the engineering around the wind resistance and the soil and stuff and so forth. So there's some questions out there that still need to be answered.
Okay. It may say, if we're lucky, it may sail up the river. Sportspark. We're having early voting there. So I know there's no lobby. So for the early voting, we're going to enter at the south end of the building. There's an entrance directly into the gymnasium. Where are they, since you tore out the lobby, where are the bathroom facilities? Are they all the way in the back now by the
There's three.
pool?
There's three bathrooms. There's one in the hallway. If you're walking from the east entrance, the pool entrance, and you walk the hallway toward the west side, two bathrooms there. There are bathrooms in the second floor where we center.
Okay.
But that can take people up there for ADA compliance issues. And then there's a bathroom in the what we call a conference room or the cafe room.
Okay, I know where that is. Okay.
And also the pool area has the locker room.
Yeah, but that's a long haul from the gymnasium.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll be spending 9 days there. We'll get to know it very well. I hope the construction in the dirt is not too loud while there's early voting going on. The
construction's not going to be loud. The demo, which I pushed to try to manage it quicker rather than slower, was very loud. So we wanted to get that. We wanted to make sure we got that done before you guys got in there. So that's done. If you walked into the lobby right now, there are no walls. There's nothing there.
Okay. Because the only other thing is if the air conditioning is working or the ventilation. So that. One other thing was, people always think that you're going to be able to go up into the lighthouse when it's restored. I've been in the lighthouse, to say the least. It's a tiny staircase, very steep. And I really think people should know that it's not really going to be accessible as far as I could figure out.
No, you're not going to be able to get in the lighthouse. The only reason we're fixing the stairs is so we can do maintenance, and we don't put the people who have to do maintenance in health and safety.
Yeah, because people seem to think that it's accessible, and I was in there once, and very steep and very shallow. One thing, there's a fountain in front of Blackwell House. That's the square fountain in front of the kitchen. It's not worked. It's deteriorating. The concrete around it is falling apart. It hasn't worked in years. Can't we just demolish that fountain and just put a lawn back there? Because it really is an eyesore. I was down there the other day. The concrete is chipping off of it.
In front of the kitchen or in front of the living room?
Yeah, in front of to the south of the main door, right on the lawn. There's another fountain.
I have to take a look. I'm not aware of that fountain.
Yeah, well, it's non-functional. It functioned maybe 15 years ago.
The one that's north of Blackwell.
Yeah,
we'll fix it.
Yeah, that one I know. And the paving, when you redo Blackwell Park paving, is it going up to in front of the sidewalk of the house? or is it just in the
If
park?
you look at the paving, there's a
Yeah,
sidewalk.
I'm looking at the picture.
There's a sidewalk that connects to the almost like a courtyard type area.
Mhm.
And we have those, I don't know, 12 by 12 pavers.
Yeah.
Those 12 by 12 pavers start at the street level, and they run around to what I would consider, what I say would be the back of Blackwell House, but which is really the front,
Right, yeah,
where the porch is.
okay.
We're gonna work all those pavers all the way around Blackwell House, look around toward behind Blackwell House or the port, all the way down to the sidewalk. And we're gonna fix there's an issue with the ADA ramp, that there's a big bump. We're gonna also fix.
Okay, one other thing was, just that, we're going crazy, not having, I don't know what the deal was to not make them put a comfort station in a firefighter's field. But it's terrible now that we don't have a comfort station there. The bathroom is closed at the tram for the public. And why should Cornell become the public bathroom? I really think you have to get back with Kramer and make him put another comfort station in it where it was supposed to be, a firefighter's field.
Well, I'll tell you what the issue was. The issue was,
yeah,
the original budget was $1 million.
Right.
The budget came in at $1.4 million.
Yeah.
Without prevailing wages, and if you put prevailing wages on it, it jumped up to 1.7 to $2 million. That was the issue. That's the issue with the comfort station, and we weren't in a position to push another $1 million on top of Kramer's number at the time.
Well, the thing is, we need public bathrooms. It is infuriating that every one of us who work on this island or live on this island know that people are constantly coming into us. Where's there a bathroom? And I don't.
I agree with you, Judy, but when you look at the capital planning and how we have the whole thing planned over a period of time, us putting $1 million with everything else that we had on the capital plan had to be approved by the budget. I didn't have $1 million sitting on my capital plan budget to say, okay, I'm going to take $1 million and throw it into something that I wasn't expecting. I have to put that into a budget, and then I have to have it approved. So without it approved, we decided that we were going to move the money to more health and safety point of view, for the simple reason we didn't know when this pandemic was going to end, and we didn't know when we were going to do a comfort station. A comfort station is not a health and safety issue, so we wanted to use the money in a way that was going to be productive from a health and safety perspective, and divert that money to a place that was going to improve the health and safety of the community on the island. Comfort station is not something that we've taken off the table for Firehouse Field, but it's something that in the time that we've been working through this pandemic, we wanted to use the money in a more efficient way, as opposed to just holding it and not doing nothing with it.
Well, let's put it back in next year's budget and get David Kramer to pay $2 million.
I'm going to just check with Max. Max, did anybody else have their hand up to ask questions?
Yes, actually, we do have Marco.
Okay, so Judy gave you a generous turn, and now we're going to go over to Marco. Thank you, Judy. Appreciate your questions.
And go ahead, Marco.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Lane. First of all, I have to say thank you for increased greenery in the Lighthouse Park. I think it's a very good idea. I really love that idea. But now my question is about the ceiling. I have a map of FEMA next to this window. That section is the largest part that will be flooded, and since it's gonna be flooded, it's gonna be 11 feet. So you don't fight with the water. You try to go along with the water. That's the strategy. Therefore, in that direction, what kind of greenery you prepare for that part? I know that you make a small section, but if you at least try the section that you are doing the greenery, you should work with greenery that go along with the flooding and help to prevent that the whole section and the tip of the island get completely flooded, even though that it's going to be flooded in any direction, north, east, and west. But the point is how to make resilience the island.
So if I understand your question correctly, because you broke up a little bit on presenting the question. The question is from the greenery that we're going to put in the park. How are we going to deal with potential flooding and how that greenery is going to be impacted by it? Is that the question? Is that correct?
That is correct. So in other words, most of the designs in this kind of situation, they allow the water, they welcome the water to come, but minimize the negative impact. But when the water recedes back, the greenery is still right there.
Yeah, so two things about that. One is we're using only native planting in South Point Park and also going to be in Lighthouse Park. And you probably haven't seen it, but the design of the project was that we have these box cauldron type units that are west of the walkway. And how that was designed was natural greenery, but if the water gets into that box cauldron, then it gets released back down into the riprap and back into the river. So from a resiliency perspective, we're hoping that because of the incline of the riprap onto the walkway and then up onto the greenery, and we have these box cauldron, for lack of a better term, they're really circular, big circular cement, fairly large units with greenery inside of those. The water will go up, get into those areas, get pushed back down, and then the way it's designed, it rolls back out through the riprap back into the East River. So they've designed the project to hopefully deal with the water issues. Now, if we get a Sandy again, a 1 in 100 years, I can't guarantee you that's going to deal with it. But for the most part, if we have significant storms, we have the resiliency built into the design of the project. Hopefully.
One more question. I know that probably this is not part of the All Europe project, but on the opposite side of the island, on the south section, there is these ruins, and they try to protect that area. I know that in this case, probably I'm gonna ask you, why not you can try to create a wall in this section so to avoid the water coming in and destroy what is left of the ruins. Right now, there is a lot of efforts to that section. Do you think that you may have something to create a seawall? I'm seeing the map. This is what I'm trying to describe to you, that section. So can you have maybe in the future something like that? Because the only thing that's left is ruins. I don't think it's going to be successful to preserve that unless you retain the water to coming in inside of the island in that area specifically.
Well, from a seawall perspective, if you're asking, if you're talking about the area next to smallpox and a seawall, putting a seawall in place. So the smallpox area is really part of the state park, which is the Four Freedoms Park. And if I put a seawall in there, the way it would have to be constructed is I'd have to go in 15 to 20 feet to actually brace it, where the riprap is actually a more resilient way to do it. But I would have to take away, I'd have to probably go from what is currently the seawall, what is currently the riprap. I'd have to take everything all the way up to the fence of the smallpox to build the seawall, to build the bracing of the seawall. I just don't think that. I don't think that's an option for us at this point. I think the riprap is a much better option relative to how we have to deal with the water intrusion issues. And I don't know what's underneath smallpox, but bringing the machinery in there to actually have to excavate all that work and I'd be putting the smallpox building at risk relative to how fragile the building is.
I think I'm seeing right now the map, and I don't see that is going to be impact negatively in the other section. On the contrary, that section it will be help a lot. And my way of thinking is always I prefer to let the water coming in. That's my principle. But in that case, since there is this ruin that's the only thing is left, and we wanted to preserve, and there are a lot of efforts and probably a lot of millions of dollars they're gonna put to preserve. And if we don't prepare, or we don't have a retention wall in that part, it's gonna be wasted the whole money, and probably the ruins is going to disappear.
Well,
And
Marco, I want to tell you that there is a project, independent project, where a group of people are trying to create a funding to save those ruins. So that's an independent project. I don't know if that's part of what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
But
It's
there is a project
different.
in the works to try to preserve those ruins. So I just wanted to kind of.
Yes, I'm fully aware. They came and they presented to us. The only thing is seeing that the big dollar is a lot of money. It should be more practical to spend in that direction the money. I mean, I'm trying to be more practical and more community oriented to preserve what they have. And I think this is a historical part of the island. And I think this is what I strongly recommend, that you should start thinking in that part, or at least study deeper. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you.
Well,
Max, I just wanted to check to see if there were any other questions.
Oh, sure. I'm not seeing any. Let me just double check. No.
Okay.
Let me just finish. One of the things that we had as far as a concept, and if you guys can find the right people, my concept for the smallpox would be to turn it into either a COVID memorial or a first responders memorial. If we could get somebody to actually jump on that idea, like the Bloomberg Foundation or Mellon Foundation, would, to kind of do, put the money in there. It's a big number, right?
Yeah. That's a great idea, John. And I just wanted to let you know that I've gotten some input from our electeds, and I understand that the DOT has been going ahead with the costing for the resurfacing of the bike lane on the Roosevelt Island Bridge. Max, could you unmute? Why am I blanking on his name? My bike buddy.
Oh, Paul.
Yes, thank you. I'm
Of
sorry,
course.
Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, no trouble at all. Nothing else to add, Lynn. I know nothing more.
So my understanding and the rumor I've heard is that they're almost completed, or they've moved forward in the costing of the resurfacing, and that if they're not done, they're almost done, and that's going forward. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that is actually still moving forward. And John, I wanted to thank you for an awesome presentation, super informative. I thought that was, there were some things you talked about I didn't even realize were already done, whatever. And in the things that have been worked on in the last year or so, I think you guys have really stepped up and done a great job. And I love the Hope Memorial. I think that looks fantastic. The youth center looks fantastic. I'm now enthusiastic that our sports park is going to look fantastic once you're done your renovations. And I think, I know it's not on your docket, but I think we need to start moving forward with the elected officials and with our community to get our senior center up to the level of these other centers and places. So that could be a future discussion. What I'd like to do now is move our agenda to the second item. We have Anthony Amoroso also from the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation's public safety, and he's going to talk to us briefly about what they're doing for community policing. Hey, Anthony.
Hi, everybody. I think in case everyone doesn't know, I'm the deputy director behind Chief Brown. The first thing I want to say before we get into the community policing is I want to express my condolences from PSD, from Public Safety Department, and REAC to the family and the friends of the young man that passed away at Sportspark. There is an ongoing investigation going on by the medical examiner and NYPD. So I really can't, answer any questions as regards to it tonight, out of respect for the family. But we do want to express our condolences and our heart hurts for the family. I do want to say we do have a great community policing plan set for 2021. COVID hit us very, very hard. This year, I hit everybody hard, but PSD, as everyone knows, we lost two of our senior officers, passed away due to it. We had over 19 of our officers contract COVID, and I know 19 doesn't seem like such a huge number, but it's a third of our department, and most of the officers are under the age of 30. So it was a rough battle for us. We are back to full staffing. I know there was some, questions of how many officers we had out on patrol. We were working a limited capacity up until April 1st, just so that we would be able to fully staff when we had to quarantine certain groups of officers, and we wouldn't have to shut the doors of PSD. So we worked a limited staff so that we could still be there for the community. We pretty much had a hold on a lot of our training because there was no training in law enforcement across the board, even with the NYPD. So we're going full force with our training. We're going to try to follow in the steps of Chief McManus and Chief Brown and myself. I'm fully bought into the community policing motto. We really concentrate on the 3 E's: education, engineering, and I'll get into that a little bit of what we have planned. And the education, I'll get into some of the stuff we have planned, not only for our officers, but for the community. And then the enforcement. Our enforcement is in full effect. But we believe that good community policing is a partnership with making everyone very educated with the new rules and procedures that are out there. One of the big things that has changed since last year is marijuana has been legalized. So that is something about educating everybody about, the new laws with marijuana. People smoking marijuana is legal now. And, we as a community have to understand that. It's like smoking a cigarette. There are certain places that you can smoke and there's certain ages, just like cigarettes, but it's something that, we've educated our officers on, and, the community needs to, be educated on it also, so that they know that we're not just turning our blind eye to it. We know it, but it is new laws. Some other training thing today, in fact, I went to a course out in Orange County, New York. It was based on de-escalation and public communication with law enforcement officers in the community. De-escalation is the word of law enforcement and community policing in this day and age. There's a lot of stuff, that have been very negative towards law enforcement, and we want to try to build the trust in the community. We started the RERA meetings up again monthly, which I think has been a huge positive. We had our second one was on Tuesday, and people have been attending, and we're listening to the community and their concerns. And myself and Chief Brown, are trying to hear everything and get everything that we can taken care of, and then redirect through the ticket system other concerns that wind up coming up. The ticket system's up and running, and it has been for a while, and it's a great way to get stuff out to the different departments so that, things can get done and get done quickly. Even in the rear meetings, we write it down and we refer to the proper department, but if you feel something, please use the ticket system. Training that we're focusing on this year, besides de-escalation, is we're learning all the new reforms of use of force. I think most of you know I have a lengthy training background, and I'm a defensive tactics instructor with the state. I was when I was with the NYPD. I still am. So there are new reforms that we're teaching all our officers on, how to, to deal with, possibly a violent suspect in the street or a non-violent suspect in the street. These are things that are constantly that need to be taught to our officers. We don't want any mistakes. We don't want any misunderstandings. So we want them fully trained. We're giving them training in disability awareness. That's another thing that I just came back from a trainer to trainer class on, how to deal with people with disabilities. I think that is something, on Roosevelt Island, that our officers should be fully knowledgeable about. And we're going to start that training this year. I do want to brag a little bit, and Chief, I take this from Chief Brown, is we're still the safest area in New York City. Last month, we only had one crime. I'm happy about that. Crime is up in the city, but it's not up on Roosevelt Island. And our patrols are in full force. We're trying to really enforce the bike issues that are going on. And we know this, it's brought up in every meeting that we go to about bicycle safety. We've created a bike unit, and the bike unit is not just for fully writing summonses. It's to educate also on the rules and safety of bicycle riding, which, believe it or not, a lot of people didn't really understand that you had to stop at a stop sign on a bicycle, but you do. We are issuing a lot of summonses to repeat offenders, but I don't know if you guys have seen, we have flyers that we've been handing out on bicycle safety. I think it's been a huge success. So we actually, because we've had a lot of concerns about unleashed dogs and dogs using the bathroom and people aren't cleaning up after them, we created dog flyers also to curb your dog, to keep him on leashes, and just to go over the rules. And that's a big part of our education. If someone doesn't know the rules and they come to the island, not necessarily they're going to get a ticket, but they're going to get, educated on the rules. And then the people that are repeat offenders, we have to go into the enforcement end of it. We are writing a lot of summonses. We are doing a lot of verticals. There's a back and forth with the summons writing. Some people are upset about the summons writing. Some people are happy that we're enforcing the rules, especially with parking and things. We're trying to find the partnership where we're able to, in community policing, partnership is a key, one of the key elements. Problem solving, positive interaction, and partnerships. And, that's part of that partnership. It's like not everyone should, always get a ticket. Someone should be explained and talked to. And I think we're getting good feedback. We started a program where we're working with the CERT team. I've been doing a couple of projects with Frank France. He's been helping out with the food pantry. He's been helping out with the market on Saturdays. We did the sprinkler system initiative. We're going to try to do that again this year. And just show that, the community that we're here, here for them. Myself and Chief Brown, we have an open door policy, to come in and speak with us. You can email us, but you can come in and speak. Our doors are open. A lot of commanders and precincts, it's hard to get to talk to them. Sometimes they're very, very busy. We're gonna always make time for you guys to try to resolve any issues that are going on. Homeless, I know, has become an issue. You know, the homeless issue is very sensitive, because although there are people that don't want the homeless around, there are also people that understand that homeless sometimes is not a choice, and we're trying to get as much outreach for them. It's been taken away from the NYPD, and it's, you know, it's homeless services now, and we're working hand in hand with them to try to get them into, you know, locations, medical attention, things that we can do to help them out. You know, I feel we have a homeless issue on the island. We do have some homeless that they come up from the subway. I'm not going to say that that's not happening. But from the other precinct commanders that I'm speaking to in like the 114 and in Manhattan, we're extremely low compared to everywhere else. So, you know, we're dealing with that. You know, our officers are being sympathetic to the homeless, and, you know, the last thing we want to do is arrest them. You know, I understand if they're trespassing is trespassing, but we want to try to get them services. Why are they trespassing? Why are they sleeping on the bench? You know, not having a bathroom to utilize. You know, it's degrading, and, you know, we want to give them the opportunity to get help. So you know, training is our key element this year for community policing. The bicycle officers. A lot have been asking, why don't we have our officers on bikes again? We are going to be having them on bikes again. The problem was there's a bike training process that all law enforcement officers, before they can do bike patrol, have to go through a course. And NYPD had shut down their training for a whole year. So people had left. So we only had 2 people still around that were bike trained. And one of them is a supervisor. So Chief Brown just got in touch with the NYPD. They just reopened it up. So we're going to be sending our officers to bike training. So you'll see more officers out there, not only on foot, but also on bicycles, so they can interact with the community. You know, having them in vehicles is an essential thing, so we can get to an emergency a little bit quicker, but we're really focusing on foot patrols, and we're going to be focusing on the bike units again. And it's easier to enforce bike patrol when we're on the bicycles and able to, you know, catch up with them. A lot of times they're on foot and they take off, and we're not able to catch up to educate them or enforce them. So those are our plans. And like I said, we have a lot of training that we want to do with our officers. And then we want to start some training also with the community. And there's some things that we're looking into with that. We're doing some maybe education in active shooter with the community, and different topics that we are going to start to look into, where we're not just training the officers, but voluntary members in the community to come and, you know, maybe once a month run some kind of class on something, maybe self-defense or something that can, you know, help the community as a whole. And I think that if our officers are involved with the communities as students also, that will also build a rapport with them.
That sounds like a great idea. That sounds awesome.
We, in fact, our public information officer, Amy, is on right now, and she's been really great with us, and she's been really a part of everything that we're doing and really supportive to everything, and you know, helping us with some really great ideas. Amy Smith, I don't know if you guys have met her yet, but she's really been a real key to our community policing initiatives.
Well, and I definitely want to thank you and Chief Brown for all the support you gave different events that the community had during the pandemic, because I appreciate the fact that you were down some officers and things like that. And, you know, we did some things here where we supported different groups in the community because of some of the crises that were happening in terms of, the Black Lives Matter and the Asian hate and things like that. And we really appreciate that you worked with the community to make those safe and good events. and that you guys were there for some of the other testing things, and when Carolyn Maloney came and all those things. So we super appreciate that you worked with us with those events that we had at different times during the pandemic, because I definitely want people to hear that it was much, much harder for you guys to try to coordinate things during those difficulties, but we still were able to do supportive things within the community. And I'd like to go to Lydia. She had a question for you.
Lynn, I just want to say one thing, and I'll take that question from you, Lydia. Our key goal, as scary as the pandemic was, REOC and our public safety, was to never close. We felt that that was very, very important, that we stayed, we found a way to stay open through whatever we were going to go through. And we didn't know what we were going to go through. But we felt that if PSD were to not be there, that would cause more panic for the community. And that was our primary mission throughout the whole pandemic, was to make sure that we properly staffed ourselves so that we always, even if there were times when we had 7 to 10 people out being quarantined, but we were still able to run all 3 of our shifts and make sure that those doors were open at public safety. So I just wanted to say thank you for helping out and the community for understanding, although it wasn't as much enforcement as we would have liked to have all the time, we still had that safety net there for the community. I'm sorry, Lydia, your question?
Thank you so much for being here and informing us about this stuff. I have 3 actual questions. The first is the ticket system. I've never heard of it. If you would just give a brief introduction to what that's all about. That sounds like it's efficient for you, but as a resident, I have no idea what that is. So that would be great if I could know, and then I could spread the word. The second one is that when you're talking about the Tuesday rear meetings, are you talking about the public safety committee meetings?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I missed.
So, and then the third one is regarding the marijuana laws. I actually looked it up and I tried to see, is it the same type of thing as in terms of alcohol intoxication? So if there's a crime related to like driving under the influence or something like that, is there a contingency like that in the marijuana laws, or is it just not? May not be speaking it properly. Sorry.
I know exactly what you're saying, and it is a little confusing. What they did was they legalized the smoking of marijuana. The problem with marijuana is, although we're alcohol, you can do a test if someone was drinking and driving. There is no test yet to prove if someone is under the influence and driving a vehicle, or obviously if someone's acting erratic in the street, we would probably treat them as an aided person. But smoking marijuana now is as legal as smoking a cigarette. You just have to be over the age of 21. Obviously, you can't, just like you can't smoke a cigarette in certain areas, you can't smoke marijuana in certain areas.
What are the certain areas you're not allowed to smoke?
Well, just like you're not allowed to smoke on the bus, you're not allowed to smoke on public transportation. You're not allowed to smoke in the hallways of certain buildings. There are signs that say, right now we have an issue with one of the complexes where they're smoking marijuana in the hallways, and we get the phone call, and if we catch them smoking marijuana in the hallways, we remove them just as if they were smoking a cigarette. It's a fire code violation. So they're usually told to put it out and escort it out of the location. If they don't, we can issue summonses for it. In the apartments, though, there's really not too much we could do. We do get a lot of calls of smoking marijuana in the apartments. And what I've been referring people to do is let the management know, hey, if you're smelling marijuana from apartment 2B or 2A, let the management know, they're smoking in the, just like you're not supposed to smoke cigarettes in your apartment. We have to get the management involved. And that's another thing that we're going to do with our community policing is we're going to start having meetings with the different managements with the marijuana issues and the homeless issues, so that they understand the laws. I think that we're trying to come up with something as far as maybe a course maybe to educate the community on all of the different new marijuana laws. Also, that may be one of our educational things to the community that we'll be giving out. But it's you have to be 21. It's funny. The other day, it's not funny, but there was a young man and he was smoking marijuana, and one of my officers grabbed him, and the parents came and they were angry at the officer for stopping him and for smoking marijuana. And they said marijuana is legal, but it's not legal for a 14-year-old to smoke marijuana, just like it's not legal for a 14-year-old to smoke cigarettes. So there's certain rules and regulations with just like cigarettes with the marijuana smoking. So it was kind of like, I was like, the kid's 14. He can't smoke a cigarette. Why would you think he could smoke marijuana? So and he said, well, it's legal, but there are rules and regulations with it. And we're going to try to educate the community as much as we possibly can. It's just new. So that's what we're trying to do now. Second question you had was with the ticket system. So I'm gonna if we could let Amy speak about the ticket system and she can help out. Amy, could you help me out?
Could you unmute Amy? Thank you. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi. So the ticket system is pretty simple. It's an online portal through react.ticket.us. And it's kind of like if you see something that React can help with or something that we can address, like lampposts that are out, overgrown hedges, stuff like that, you can just put it in the ticket system and it will very efficiently be routed to the people who deal with that particular issue. So when you do that, things get addressed much quicker than if you just maybe check in with PSD or myself, because then we have to figure out who handles that. And with the ticket system, it's done automatically. And you can track it too. You can see where we are in the process of addressing that particular issue.
Thank you, Amy.
It's just maintenance issues?
It can be maintenance, grounds, pretty much anything.
Transportation, you having a transportation issue that maybe PSD can address, at that moment, and something that's you feel a signage on the buses or something that you feel you could put it through the ticket system.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Marco. He had a question for you.
Sure. Go ahead, Marco.
Thank you, Lynn. First of all, I'm going to say that what happened with Mr. Floyd was wrong, and these officers should never be in the force. However, I strongly support the police enforcement. I think they're doing a great job. Like I just heard that last year you had one crime. I think we have to recognize these kind of actions in the community because you deserve to be recognized for this action. Just because there are two bad apples or a couple of apples doesn't represent the whole force. And myself, I think is wrong what are the people they're doing. We need the police department, especially with this enlightenment training that you are having right now. I think is great. This is the way that should be policed. It should have less lethal weapons, also the police, to act properly. So to have cameras, all this kind of stuff, basically the police department, they need that. And community affairs, they should be removed from the police department. It should be more concentrated in policing actions. And I think what you described right here, I think is wonderful. I think I'm very happy. I never thought that I'm gonna hear these kind of actions right away. And you're doing beautiful job. I congratulate for that. And I think it's great for the community. And the community, we have to be grateful for this force, especially in Roosevelt Island. We would like to have the whole city, but well, that's what it is. And thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. I just want to let you know that it started with Chief McManus, that you heard that there's a sports field called Chief McManus. He's dearly remembered, by this community. And he started the whole community policing, and we're so happy that Chief Brown and Officer Amoroso have continued it, because it really, I've always liked to work Roosevelt Island toward being the best neighborhood in America, and with the kind of things that these guys do, that moves us toward that. So I definitely appreciate that. Amy, you wanted to say something?
I did. I forgot to mention that ticket is spelled Tikkit.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Amy. And I just really appreciate you guys coming and joining us today. And I look forward to continuing to work with you guys. And I definitely join you in my condolences to the family. And I know that you guys are working on your investigation, and I know that we're very interested in how that all, the solutions for that. And so what I'd like to do now is move our agenda forward. And I'd like you, Max, if you could unmute Rebecca Weintraub, and then if you could put into our
The link.
yes, the
Yes.
link for ranked choice voting. And Rebecca, let me just introduce you. She's one of our people, one of the people in the community that is running for committee. I'm sorry. Tell me again.
District leader.
District leader. Thank you. I'm sorry. District
No worries.
leader. And she agreed to come today. Thank you for being so patient.
Of course.
Talk to us about. I personally have had some confusion, even though I've been trying to look into it to understand what ranked choice voting means and how it's going to impact our voting. And we're going to be voting really soon. And I think a bunch of people have lots of questions about it. So Rebecca agreed to try to kind of give us an idea. And then Max is going to put into our chat the city's site that explains ranked choice voting to kind of help us move that forward, so you all know where you can get more questions answered or remind you of what that means. And I'll let you go, Rebecca. Thank you.
Great. And actually, in addition to the city's website that explains ranked choice voting, I highly recommend checking out rankthevotenyc.org. It is full of educational information on ranked choice voting. Thank you, Max, for putting that in the chat. And it's full of amazing information. It also has a number of different presentations for you to use to look at, to learn about ranked choice voting, but also for you to explain it to your friends and family if they have any questions. And there are like 63 questions that they have answers. I spend a lot of time on there. I think ranked choice voting is really, we have not learned enough about it, and we are about to do it. So I'm going to start by giving just a really quick background on ranked choice voting, why we're having it here in New York City, and then I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you may have. So ranked choice voting started here in New York in 2019. The City Council had a charter revision commission to look at the issue, and we voted on it as a city. It was on our ballot. It passed. We have, with over, I think it passed with like almost 75% of the vote actually. And it's implemented for the first time in the 2021 primaries. And we've actually already had a few ranked choice votes in special elections for city council around in different areas of the city. And then I'm going to, sorry, just reading something. Okay, so now that we're implementing it, the reason that we are doing this is because in previous years, if nobody got over 50% of the vote, we would have to have a runoff election, which actually costs a ton of money to run a whole other election right after we have a primary or a general. And so we decided this was a way for the city and the board of elections to save money. And I think that makes it a really wonderful way to do it. So the RC ranked choice voting actually only happens if no candidate passes that 50%, 51% vote in the first round. And I'm going to explain what first round means, but basically if Lynn and Judy and Lydia and I are all running for a made up office, and Lydia gets 51% of the vote, and Lynn and I each get 10% of the vote, and Judy gets the rest. Lydia wins flat out. No next rounds, second choices, third choices don't really matter. Yes, Lydia won, so we're good. And so so it's actually it's really interesting because you're going to have the opportunity to vote for 5 people. And you don't have to, but you have the opportunity to vote for 5 people, but everyone after your first choice will not count unless we don't pass that threshold. So first of all, just so everyone knows, the election is June 22nd. Absentee ballots are already out, and early voting starts June 12th. And as it was mentioned earlier, you guys will be early voting at Sportspark. So that's really important for everyone to know. And there are different hours every day, I think. Lynn can probably speak to that better than I can, but Judy can speak to it better than I can for sure. But yeah, there are different hours at Sportspark, I think every single day. All the sites are the same like that. So I can't give you much information on that without looking it up precisely. So the way that most people are looking at this is that ranked choice voting, your first choice is the candidate that you love. Your second choice is a candidate that you like. The third choice is third and fourth choices are candidates that you like a little less. And the fifth choice is someone that you could live with if they were elected. Now, you don't have to vote for all of those people, but that's a good way of looking at it. Your second choice should really be if, like, for some reason your first choice dropped out tomorrow, you would be just as happy to support candidate number 2. So the ballot is a little bit confusing because we are voting for, I think 5 of our elections are ranked choice and 2 are regular normal. And so there are actually going to be 2 sheets of paper. You're going to have to flip over both sheets. So on one piece of paper, you're going to have the city municipal elections, which are the mayor, the public advocate, the controller, the city, your city council, District 5 candidates, and Manhattan Borough president. On the other piece of paper, you will have district attorney, where you only get to pick one person, and district leader, where you only get to pick one person. So there's a lot. And so to answer your question, I know is going to happen. If you fill something out wrong, that is okay, because if your ballot is rejected on site, if your ballot is rejected, the machine will say that, and it will spit out the piece of paper that doesn't work. And someone will help you make sure that your votes are counted. Like it'll actually, they'll be able to print you a second ballot, even if it's just one sheet, and they'll be able to make sure that your vote is counted. So why should you vote for more than one person? By voting for more than one person, your vote has even more power. If your candidate doesn't win, your first choice candidate doesn't win, you are still voting. you're still being a part of the democratic process. And I think that's a really important thing to do. And then there are a couple of other things that we should all be aware of kind of after the election. Because this is ranked choice, it's going to take a little longer than we're used to count all the votes. And so I think we're used to seeing like Mayor de Blasio wins that night or the next morning. In this case, they're going to wait for every single absentee ballot to come in for 2 weeks. And then they're going to have all of the votes. And then they're going to start counting everything. There is a conversation about counting the in-person votes, but they would not be releasing those numbers until they've counted everything else. So we may not know who wins any of those 5 races for 2 weeks, maybe longer. And they're still working this part out as well, but the ranked choice elections that have already happened around the city, they actually didn't have software yet for counting the votes. And so the ranked voting was counted by hand multiple times. And so it took quite some time to get a response. And I can see some of you are like, how is that even possible? But that is in fact what they did. So there are a lot of frequent questions, but I'd love to hear what your questions are, and I can fill in as we go.
I think, Max, Judy has her hand up, and of all the people who know about voting, Miss Judy is our lady on Roosevelt Island who does.
Well, all I can tell you is I may call tomorrow and say I don't want to do the job. Okay, the hours, right? Well, I'm the co-coordinator, so I have a Republican counterpart who can take half the blame. Okay, everyone write down the hours. Saturday, June 12th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, June 13th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, June 14th, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, June 15th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday, June 16th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday, June 17th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, June 18th, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, June 19th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, June 20th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we do not know why we got all these 8 a.m.s on weekends, but this is it. We'll be at Sportspark. You go up the south end of Sportspark because it's a construction site. There'll be signs, and you go up a little hill, and there's a ground level entrance right into the gymnasium. And there's a door.
Judy, is that the side that's facing
facing the hotel, facing Cornell?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can go to the Graduate Hotel for lunch. Okay. And also, we're not going to be at Wagner, so don't go to Wagner. People who thought of early voting before, don't go to Wagner. And I missed the opportunity to work at the Metropolitan Museum. But honestly,
I missed the opportunity to vote there.
Yeah, I know. But my friend is working there. She's having 48,000 voters at the Met. I'm having 4,000 on Roosevelt Island. Okay, the only problem is we are going to training on June 2nd or 3rd, June 5th, about ranked voting. I have no idea really how it is going to work. So please be patient with us. Don't come on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And if you have problems, we'll help you, but it's going to be a challenge. And you've told me more about ranked voting, Rebecca, than I've even heard from the Board of Elections. I'm used to this.
Yeah, that's why this is so important and why I have been going around doing these trainings. I can't understand why there is nothing coming out of the Board of Elections. Yeah. It's not like they haven't been doing these for months now.
Well, it's the Board of Elections. We're sort of used to it.
True.
I mean, and also the result, this is going to be like the Georgia results in the fall. This is going to take forever to get. So be kind to us. We're only employees. And That's it.
I'm actually thrilled that Rebecca was able to coordinate.
Explain. Yeah.
Well, no, that Rebecca Seawright was able to get the early voting site on Roosevelt Island. I'm super excited about that. And Rebecca, I had a question for you.
Of course.
In terms of some of this ranking stuff, one of the things that has been confusing me a little bit is, let's say everybody in the community picked somebody different for the first two or three people.
Yeah.
And then everybody picked the same person for number 4.
Okay.
Understanding is that plays in if whoever has the top votes didn't have more than 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that somebody got the 4th vote of everyone, how does that, I'm still not clear how that all plays out.
Okay, so I can explain it, but I can also send a link to, I guess it's Max, right? And you guys can vote in a mock election that I made, and I can show you how it works. So there are 2 options, but I can try to verbally explain it first.
Okay.
So let's say the person who has the least number of votes, candidate A, there are 5 candidates, let's say. Candidate A has 14 votes, candidate B has 12, candidate C has 10, and so on and so forth, going down by 2. Candidate D has the fewest, candidate E, I guess I said there were 5 candidates. Candidate E has the fewest number of votes. They have 5 votes, let's say. They are now eliminated. So now they're eliminated, and those 5 votes, the next person, if I voted, my first choice was E, my second choice was B, B now gets my vote. Let's say you voted, your second choice was A now gets your vote, and so on and so forth. So everybody, 2 people gained 2 votes, 1 person gained 1 vote. We're still not at 50%, all right? So now the candidate, I guess, let's go with C, has the fewest votes now. They have 8 votes. Those 8 votes are, candidate C is eliminated. Their next choice, everybody's next choice on that gets distributed. So you picked A and 3 other people picked A. Now A has a lot more votes. And so it just sort of keeps filtering down to your next choice until until a candidate gets to over 50% of the vote. So that could be a candidate got to 51% of the vote and there's still 3 or 4 people in the race. That could be you got all the way down to 2 candidates and 1 candidate got to 51% of the vote, and that's the winner. So you can do it in 1 round, you can do it in 10 rounds. It depends on how many candidates you have and how many votes you have. If you think about it, the fact that we all put somebody as our 4th doesn't matter unless everybody else before that person is eliminated.
Okay, that's one of the things I was a little confused about. And even after you explained that, I still was a little confused.
Yeah.
Because
so it's hard.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So the goal is to get a candidate over 50%.
Yes.
Okay. And that's how so that whoever has the lowest drops out, and then the people who voted for them, whoever their first choice was, gets more votes.
Yeah, well, so it's the second choice. So like the first round, everybody votes. We all vote for we all voted for different candidates. And I just sent to Max a link to see if we want to try a fake vote, and then I can share my screen and show you the votes moving.
Let's let's do that, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Please.
So I can show you the votes moving. It's really cool. You're going to be voting on your favorite building in Manhattan. I think that's what I did. I have lots of different ones that I use for these.
I posted the link, and now you can also share your screen as well.
Wonderful. So I'm going to vote also. And I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to vote. And this is actually what your ballot will look like. Obviously with real candidates, when you're doing it. So it'll be the name of the candidate and then one, bubbles, and you'll be filling in those bubbles. So if you have any questions while you're filling it out, raise your hand and we'll unmute you, because I know that can be like, just if you have any questions about it. And you don't need to vote for 5, but you can vote for 5. You have to vote for at least 1.
Okay.
How many people do we have on this call? 10. I have 7. I have 7 votes so far. Is there anyone who's not voting?
There might be 1 or 2 people that aren't.
Okay, that's fine. We can just do it this way. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now. It's always fun to figure out. I know. Okay. All right, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so as you see, you have, we're going all the way back to the first round here. Okay, so the Chrysler Building got 3 votes, Empire State Building got 2, Grand Central got 1, New York Public Library got 1. World Trade Center, Flatiron, and the Met Museum got 0. Okay, that's the first round. When nobody got past the 50% mark, you can see the 50% mark is this 4 line. Okay, so now we'll go to the next round. The lowest candidate, in this case, there are 2, gets eliminated. So you'll watch them get, let's see. There we go. So those 2, you can see the votes got redistributed. Both people who picked the other ones as their first choice picked the Empire State Building as their second choice. And so the Empire State Building got to that 50% mark, but not 51%. And the Chrysler Building is still at 3 votes. And in the next round, the Chrysler Building, so you can well, that was the last round. So they like, that's where it ends, because we only have 7 people. But you can see that like the votes get redistributed. And I think that there is a way, here we go. So do you see where it says round 1? So the Chrysler Building has 43% of the vote and 29. So you would think the Chrysler Building was going to win. But in round 2, one of the Grand Central votes both of the Grand Central votes and the New York Public Library vote went to the Empire State Building. And so the Empire State Building ended up with an additional 2 votes. Now, if you have more candidates, like in our mayoral election this year, I'm gonna close out of this lovely, stop sharing, there we go. If you close out, if you like have, I guess we have 13 people on our ballot, it's going to take a lot longer to do that, because I bet everybody gets at least 1 vote, probably at least a couple hundred votes. So whoever the last person is, their votes will go, like, it'll get redistributed, and it's not like one person gets all of those votes. But it is really confusing, and there is no, there is very little way to make it not confusing.
So Max, I think Judy wanted to say something.
Sure.
Okay, are we still are we getting a regular ballot, or is all of this going to be on this our regular ballot with all these different, with all
Like
the
it's gonna be a
columns
paper.
on a scannable ballot like we always get?
Yep. It's
And
going to
we
be a piece of paper that goes into the machine.
Yeah, thank you. That I know how to do. I can even fill the paper. But how many sides and we have mayor, we have public advocate, we have
Great question.
controller, we have district lead. We have so many candidates. That means we're going to have 4 sides.
So I've heard, and remember, this is the Board of Elections, so I don't 100% know if that's happening today, will happen tomorrow. But I've heard that there are so many people running that there will be 2 pieces of paper, and that on one piece of paper, it'll be, I think, like mayor.
Yeah.
It'll be on one side of paper, like paper 1 on side A, you have mayor, public advocate, and controller.
Right.
And on side B, you have borough president and city council. And on paper number 2, you have district attorney and district leader. Because district attorney and district leader are the normal ways that you have always voted. No ranked choice.
Yeah, I know.
You only get to choose one candidate.
That's why you're smiling.
No, it's because it's the only one I can explain.
Well, Lynn, I will go to school for my PhD in election, and be patient with the poll workers.
So thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you,
That
Rebecca.
was super helpful. It's that little kind of test run was kind of helpful. Thank you for that. It made it a little less confusing, but I'm hoping that by the time we start voting, I still remember what you told us tonight. So
anyone can feel free to reach out to me. I also recommend I'll send it to Max, but there's an article from the city, which is a really wonderful investigative journal sort of online newspaper. They answered like 60 something questions about ranked choice voting. So hopefully any question you have can be answered there.
okay, so hopefully today too, you've learned a little bit about Roosevelt Island. And so I'm going to move the agenda on, and hopefully Russell has stayed with us and can give us a really quick report on Kohler Task Force.
Sure, absolutely. So I guess, I think there have definitely been improvements lately, which was good. I think, there's visitation going on. Our residents are able to actually get out and use the day passes to leave Kohler and get out into the community again, which I know they had been missing. And again, having actual visitation now has been a big improvement. I know they had a very successful vaccine clinic day where the vaccination rate for staff, I think, finally got over 50%, which is a very positive development. So I think there have been some challenges in terms of making sure that everybody's on the same page, in terms of the folks who work there about what's allowed and what's not allowed in terms of when they're allowed to go out and the rules around that. But it seems like that stuff is hopefully going to be addressed soon. So there have definitely been some positive developments. I think there's definitely, still some issues to work out that we're going to continue to deal with and work on. The other thing that we talked about during the task force meeting is trying to get answers from the Department of Health. So one of the big challenges that we've had in dealing with Kohler and some of the limitations that folks have had there in terms of restrictions and that kind of thing, is a lot of that was based on Department of Health guidance that the Kohler administration wasn't able to actually, had nothing to do with. So, it seems like the Department of Health is still sort of moving slowly in terms of adapting their guidance to the latest from the CDC in terms of what's safe and what's not and what people should be able to do. And so we're now trying to, engage directly with the Department of Health to try and get some answers from them and try and, make sure they're aware of the issues that are going on in the nursing homes, including Kohler, and the need for revisions to the guidelines and for the guidance to be updated, particularly in light of the fact that vaccination is now going on, and you have, the resident population of Kohler is overwhelmingly vaccinated. The vast majority of the folks there have been vaccinated, and so it's really should be recognized that it's a lot safer for them to do a lot of the stuff that they're still forbidden from doing. So that's, I think, part of the challenge that we're going to focus on in the future, and we're going to continue to work to try and make improvements.
I'm hoping that some of the employees take advantage of the governor's program of, if you get a vaccine, you get a scratch off card and you could win $5 million. So I'm hoping that some of the employees take advantage of that and get vaccinated and maybe win some money. Because I think that's a great incentive.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yes, Judy. Judy has a question.
Go ahead.
What I've heard, they're also going to have the vaccine on site. So they'll be able to keep a supply. So if staff decides to get it, they don't have to order in their pharmacy contractor to deliver it. They'll be able to have it right away, because that'll encourage employees, because you know how people are, I missed my appointment. So hopefully that's going to also help. But they really have been pushing, and pushing staff to get those vaccinations. And but the situation is 1,000% better than it was a few months ago. And it's spring. We put lots of flowers out, and hopefully everyone will be able to see everyone everywhere soon.
That sounds great. Thank you, Judy. That's great information. Lydia, you had a question?
Okay, just quick question. I know the overwhelming amount of residents there are vaccinated. Do you know the exact percentage?
My understanding is it was over 88%. Is that correct?
I think it's up to 88%. It may be more, but that's my recollection is it's 88%.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and thank you, Russell. I think that's all of our questions. I appreciate you gave us an update, because I apologize, everyone. I missed the last task force meeting. I definitely want to thank the task force for supporting some of the efforts of the residents, both what I'll call big and small. And I know they're definitely appreciating their new refrigerator. So I just kind of want to throw that in there. That was kind of a big thing in terms of quality of life. And I know that they're looking into some of the challenges of some of the difficult residents and how best to manage that. And I know that's moving forward too. So I think those are all good things in terms of quality of life. And I think one of the other benefits, just listening to what John O'Reilly was telling us earlier, in terms of the parkland that's going to be immediately outside of the hospital, I think that's going to be a phenomenal thing for the residents in the not so distant future. So I think that that's going to be a wonderful thing for them also. So what I'd like to do now is just move to old business and the agenda item that I added, which is we would like to encourage our elected officials to move forward with getting us the additional entrance to our subway station. We've monitored it as the Starbucks entrance because we'd like to see them add an additional entrance onto that side of the subway station, so that during the time now that we will start having more and more residents using the subway station as the city's recovering and more people will be going into work. That will help facilitate issues during rush hour and bring, so what it will be able to do is have the Starbucks entrance be the people going into Manhattan, and what I'll call the Walgreens or Duane Reade entrance, which is the current entrance, be for people who are coming from Manhattan. And We believe that that is a long-term, super important, not a big deal for the MTA, but a huge deal for our community. And so I would like to ask if we have any interest in doing a resolution from this committee to Community Board 8, requesting that a letter be sent to our elected officials requesting the Starbucks entrance to our subway. Anyone want a motion to do a resolution for our subway entrance?
Oh, I see that Marco put his thumb up. Oh, Russell has a hand up, and Lydia also has a hand up.
Okay, so let's go to Lydia and then Russell.
Am I allowed to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I make the motion.
Okay. And is that a second, Russell?
Yes, I realized my camera was off. I was giving a thumbs up and no one could see it. But yes, it is.
Okay, so what we're going to do is do a resolution for a letter to our elected officials and the MTA. This has the reason why this is under old business is prior to the pandemic, we actually got as far as having the doorway and 3 turnstiles costed out by Ben Kalos's office. So we have a ballpark of what it would cost to have that happen. It was somewhere around $1 million, if I remember correctly. And so now that the MTA is going to be getting some federal funds, I think that this would be a great time to move this forward with the MTA and our elected officials.
Just to clarify, are we doing this is a resolution or a letter?
Help me with that, Russell. What's the best way to move that forward?
I think a resolution is fine as long as I mean, is it okay if it, the resolution is not going to be fully approved until the next, board meeting in June? But I think that's it's going to be an official formal action of the board saying we call on, the governor and the MTA to put in this new entrance.
That sounds fantastic. Yes,
okay.
Definitely. So we'll do a resolution.
Good.
Okay. All right. So I need to do the vote, don't I? All in favor of doing a resolution for this?
So you can just you can just presume yes, and if somebody wants to vote no or not vote for cause or abstain, they can raise their hand.
To vote no or vote or is not voting for cause, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I see that as a unanimous approval of the resolution.
And I just have to quick say everyone who's here, not many, Lynn, Russell, and Marco.
Okay. So we will take that as a unanimous approval of the resolution. And definitely bring this to the full board at the June meeting. And I thank everyone for what I think was a great meeting. I really appreciate both REOC presentations and Rebecca's presentation. I'm a little less confused than I was at the beginning of this meeting in terms of how voting works. And I look forward to seeing everyone next month. And may I have
real quick, sorry, and I also have to put Judy was here as well. She is a public member. And now go right ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So do I have to close the meeting? I'm sorry, my brain is blank. Thank you, Judy. A second, Lydia. Okay, thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all next month. And I look forward to moving our resolution forward in front of the full board. It is a really, really important next step for our community to have that extra entrance. And so I'm hoping that I can encourage getting the full support of our board on that next month. All right, everybody, have a great evening and thank you again.
Got it.